The simulation hypothesis proposes that what one experiences as the real world is actually a simulated reality, such as a computer simulation in which humans are constructs. One more two, there has been much debate over this topic in the philosophical discourse and regarding practical applications in computing. In 2003, philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed the simulation argument, which suggested that if a civilization became capable of creating conscious simulations, it could generate so many simulated beings that a randomly chosen conscious entity would almost certainly be in a simulation. This argument presents a trilemma. Either such simulations are not created because of technological limitations or self-destruction, or advanced civilizations choose not to create them, or if advanced civilizations do create them, the number of simulations would far exceed base reality, and we would therefore almost certainly be living in one. This assumes that consciousness is not uniquely tied to biological brains, but can arise from any system that implements the right computational structures and processes. 3. 4. The hypothesis is preceded by many earlier versions, and variations on the idea have also been featured in science fiction, appearing as a central plot device in many stories and films, such as Simulacron 3, 1964, and The Matrix, 1999. 5. Human history is full of thinkers who observe the difference between how things seem and how they might actually be, with dreams, illusions, and hallucinations providing poetic and philosophical metaphors. For example, the butterfly dream of Zhuangzi from ancient China, or the Indian philosophy of Maya, or in ancient Greek philosophy, where Anaxarchus and Monomus likened existing things to a scene painting and supposed them to resemble the impressions experienced in sleep or madness. Aztec philosophical texts theorized that the world was a painting or book written by the Teotl. A common theme in the spiritual philosophy of the religious movements collectively referred to by scholars as Gnosticism was the belief that reality as we experience it is the creation of a lesser, possibly malevolent, deity from which humanity should seek to escape. In the Western philosophical tradition, Plato's allegory of the cave analogized human beings to chained prisoners unable to see reality. René Descartes' evil demon philosophically formalized these epistemic doubts, to be followed by a large literature with subsequent variations like Brain in a Vat. 12. In 1969, Konrad Zuse published his book Calculating Space on Automata Theory, in which he proposed the idea that the universe was fundamentally computational, a concept which became known as digital physics. 13. Later, roboticist Hans Moravec explored related themes through the lens of artificial intelligence, discussing concepts like mind uploading and speculating that our current reality might itself be a computer simulation created by future intelligences. 14, 15, 16. In 2003, Bostrom proposed a trilemma that he called the simulation argument. Despite its name, the simulation argument does not directly argue that humans live in a simulation. Instead, it argues that one of three unlikely seeming propositions is almost certainly true. The fraction of human-level civilizations that reach a post-human stage, that is, one capable of running high-fidelity ancestor simulations, is very close to zero, or the fraction of post-human civilizations that are interested in running simulations of their evolutionary history or variations thereof is very close to zero, or the fraction of all people with our kind of experiences that are living in a simulation is very close to 1. The trilemma points out that a technologically mature, post-human civilization would have enormous computing power. If even a tiny percentage of ancestor simulations were run, that is, high-fidelity simulations of ancestral life that would be indistinguishable from reality to the simulated ancestor, the total number of simulated ancestors, or sims, in the universe, or multiverse if it exists, would greatly exceed the total number of actual ancestors. Bostrom uses a type of anthropic reasoning to claim that if the third proposition is the one of those three that is true, and almost all people live in simulations, then humans are almost certainly living in a simulation. Bostrom's argument rests on the premise that given sufficiently advanced technology, it would be possible to represent the populated surface of the Earth without recourse to digital physics, that the qualia experienced by a simulated consciousness are comparable or equivalent to those of a naturally occurring human consciousness, and that one or more levels of simulation within simulations would be feasible given only a modest expenditure of computational resources in the real world. 18.3.